Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage. Today we're going to be talking about PlayStation's requiring age verification. And this is not just PlayStation, okay? This is moving to multiple platforms or whatever. Other companies are going to having to deal with this. I think too we'll even get to a point where we have to deal with this with internet providers, which is going to end up being everybody. And then too, other countries are even just getting into this. And it's actually way more than what I initially thought. So we're going to go through it all and kind of my overall concerns too of why I think this is a problem. So let's start with PlayStation. PlayStation will ask players to verify their age later this year to continue using communication features. New email from Sony Interactive Entertainment revealed a new age verification requirement for PlayStation users to continue using communication features. The goal of providing safe, age appropriate experiences for players and families while respecting their privacy and meaningful control over their gaming experiences. This will be implemented globally. Players will need to verify their age to continue using messages and voice chat. And yeah, there's no way around that. It's literally verify or don't use it at all ever again. Players opt not to verify their age can still use other services such as games, trophies, in the store. PlayStation didn't provide a date for when players will need to begin the verification process, but I'm sure that's literally being worked on right now. And my biggest reason with this is that there is no company that is unhackable. And so if they're requiring any type of personal private data, right, from each individual user, one, I believe they're going to use that to their profit in some shape or form. Or multiple, maybe. And then the other thing is that they cannot ensure that the data is actually safe because PlayStation usually has probably at least one hack a year or like a big DOS attack or whatever. And then other companies, including like Microsoft or anybody else, they also have hacks and data breaches and all of this stuff. And so, yeah, I don't even think there's a single company, including Kaspersky Labs, which is supposed to be one of the most secure kind of VPN networks out there. Even they've been hacked, and they're ran by ex-KGB agents. So there isn't a single place that is not hackable. It's all hackable, and then that data can get out there. It can be used, and the more real data we really have to use in order to verify things, just to be able to play video games in this instance or access content on YouTube, the more dangerous it's going to be when that stuff actually does get hacked. Because eventually, I believe that like your face or some government ID, well, that's not going to be enough. They're eventually going to need like social security numbers or multiple forms of verification, and that's already just getting out of control anyway. When just trying to apply for stuff through the government or some companies, we take a look at the United Kingdom is kind of what really kicked this off. Unfortunately, we've had kind of like 20. It's not that it hasn't shown up before in the 2010s, but it's really been pushed in the 2020s, and we're going to see that as we go through this. But we're starting with the United Kingdom first. This really kind of like got some traction in some videos. And yeah, we'll just go through this. This is just kind of like an overall summary up here. But yeah, under the Online Safety Act of 2023, this is basically for platforms and social media, and they are obligated to verify the age of their users to ensure that they are not under 18. This is for some platforms. Also, some platforms, including Reddit and Blue Sky, they've already opted in 2025 to use age verification in order to distinguish adults from children. And again, those are not unhackable, right? And that data is on their servers. Also, in January of 2026, the UK government started a consultation on policies that would create a, quote, safer digital childhood, including the possibility of social media ban for children, similar to the Australian ban. And we'll get into that one too. But also, it's not the government's job necessarily to protect my children in my home. It's my responsibility. Also, while debating the Children's Wellness in Schools bill, the House of Lords accepted an amendment requiring the government, UK, to extend age verification to VPNs, virtual private networks. So now it's no longer just wanting to protect your data or wanting to safeguard your data from companies or whatever. Not that you're necessarily doing anything wrong, but again, everything is hackable out there now. And so, yeah, the type of data that you have floating around is important. So people have been using VPNs for quite some time. Well, now you have to age verify your VPN, which is basically going to directly connect you to the VPN that you're using. And then as of April 2026, the bill has not yet become law. While debating in 26 on crime and policing bill, the government also sought to add a clause allowing ministers to amend the Online Safety Act to mitigate the risk of harm from AI generated content by statutory instrument. So, yeah, this is not just focusing on what content is out there or platforms. This is now moving into just AI generated content and just everything that basically we can touch now. And this is why I believe platforms like YouTube are kind of getting to the extent where it's like they're demonetizing, they're banning channels for AI use or repetition content or whatever. And yeah, this is all kind of getting out of control. And I believe that ultimately it's the platforms that don't really care. They're just trying to protect themselves from what the governments are requiring or what they think they're going to require in the future. And you have things like with Discord and Roblox weren't happening. I don't think this would be happening, but unfortunately, here we are. Now, to be full disclosure, this company is trying to sell you a product. Let me read the disclosure at the very bottom. Platforms like DeepIDV offer exactly this: a unified identification verification or identity verification API that adapts to regulatory requirements by jurisdiction. But I do like using these websites generally because they have to get the information right to actually have a foundational reason why they're trying to sell you their product, right? So they dig up all of this information, which is great, and we'll go through it. But yeah, the UK, we've already gone over. European Union, well, they have the Digital Services Act. It's not prescribed specific age verification method. It requires very large online platforms like YouTube to assess and mitigate risk to minors, including by implementing age-appropriate design and access controls. Also, at the same time, the European Commission has been developing a dedicated framework for age verification that is expected to build with their digital identity wallet infrastructure. This allows the EU citizens to verify their age using their national digital identity wallet. God, that's so dystopian, guys. Confirming that they are above a specific age without revealing exact date of birth or other personal data. Now, that would be nice, but again, who's holding all of that information? And are they hackable? Yes. And is the data going to be used to probably further control or influence the populace? Yes. Governments are corrupted. All of them. Also, when we take a look at Australia, well, the Online Safety Act of 2021, Australia conducted a formal age verification roadmap process from 23 to 24, and then the requirements took effect and will take effect in phases through 25 and through 26. Australian approach emphasizes technology neutrality. A regulator does not prescribe specific methods, but requires platforms to demonstrate that their chosen approach is effective, privacy preserving, which is impossible in my opinion, and accessible. Also, the United States. Well, we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We already have a fifth of the country already looking at currently enforcing different rules and laws and stuff. And so here we are. And a lot of them are some of them are for adult sites, but also a lot of them are for social media and specific algorithmic feeds or just social media, period. So, yeah, but all of it's either adult content, social media, or both. And all of them, as you can see, a lot of them anyway, require age verification or government IDs or commercial verification or digital. Some of them include parental consent. Way to go, Montana. Good job. But yeah, all of this is ultimately heading toward exactly the same thing. India, enacted in 2023, Digital Personal Data Protection Act includes provisions requiring verifiable consent from parents before processing children's personal data. The Act defines children as individuals under 18 and requires platforms to make reasonable efforts to verify that consent is being provided by an actual parent. So that's kind of nice. So there's ways to circumvent that, but they're not just strong-arming the crap out of everything. But still, they're going to need some data to actually prove, oh yeah, okay, we're getting consent from a parent, right? And again, that data is going to be breachable. Also taking a look at Canada's, they have Online Harms Act, includes age verification provisions modeled on the UK's. And then Japan has strengthened its existing age verification requirements. And then South Korea has long required real name verification for certain online services and is extending this framework to include age-specific checks for gaming in social media platforms. And that's where I think all of this is ultimately going. Because, see, what we're already seeing from some of them, oh, we're starting the process, okay? Or as a country, or some companies like PlayStation are already going, oh, well, we're just going to do this now, right? Because this is coming, this is happening, this is more likely to reach more places. And then those that already have this type of stuff to protect kids or whatever they want to say, well, they're just making them more strict. So, like, the future for gaming, the future for anything through a screen does not look better. Does not look better for the user, does not look better for your personal and private data, whether what you're using, who you are, all of that type of stuff. And then again, it's the companies and the countries that are going to be holding on to this data, basically to ensure that, everybody is safe in the name of safety. Well, I got to tell you that I remember, CBD during 2020 and 2021, and that too was all in the name of safety. And it didn't work, did it? And that is some of the most overreaching government control I've ever seen in my life. Now, again, I'm not very old. I'm only 36. But boy, that was some crazy stuff. And then again, if they can do it through what we use on a daily basis, well, maybe the older generations don't really matter because they don't really do it that much or they're willing to opt out. But kids that are growing up with how they interact with everybody through screens today, there's no way they can opt out of that. They're literally opting out of their entire generation. And then again, this is not just going to be kids. Down the road, I still think it's going to be age verification for adults too. That's what the UK system is doing. They're not trying to verify that you're a child, just trying to verify that you're an adult. And so I ultimately think that's where all of this is going, unfortunately. And is Xbox probably going to follow? Yeah, probably Nintendo. And if I've missed something, hey, leave it down in the comments. Be a part of the discussion. We all appreciate that. But this is not the type of future that I want because there's already so many hacks. The data is already used to the nth degree to ultimately influence us, to get us to spend more money with companies or to have more influence in government controls. And I just don't think it's going to get better. And then too, it's going to make the platforms more frustrating. Whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, or YouTube, or whatever else, or like Roblox, etc., or Discord, it's just going to be all of this extra login stuff. There's going to be features that are going to be locked away. It's just going to be more hurdles and more red tape to try to get through to actually play. And again, this is just for video games, guys. And so it's like, at what point is it just not worth it? I mean, either one of two things happens, right? People are either going to comply and people won't have privacy anymore, ultimately, down the road, or people are just going to opt out of society. Which one are you? Anyway, with that, folks, I'll see you guys on the next one.